Have you ever started a meeting or presentation only to feel disconnected and like you didn't belong? I hear you. And that is why I've invited experts who have been in the same position as you or who've lived through the experience from others. And so they're here to share their strategies so that you can implement them today, so that you can be influent and affluent in your global working relationships. My name is Leonilda Renaldo, and I'm your host at the Be Fluent Show. I have the pleasure of holding the space for experts and you to be part of this conversation. Subscribe now. Don't miss it. You'll be sorry. And I want you to be fluent. I want you to be successful. See you soon. A bientôt. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen, with Steph Fonteyn, where we're going to be discussing the art of collaboration. What is that? And why do we need it? Why do leaders need it? Is the world a better place for it? Who knows? That's what we're going to discover today with Steph Fonteyn. Steph, how are you today?
I'm fantastic and happy to see you here.
Yes, definitely. Steph, I have been so excited preparing for this. In any case, what our viewers and listeners want to hear is, Steph, who are you?
I guess you could say I'm a creative catalyst, and I have connected all the dots of major experiences in my life. And instead of compartmentalizing them, I show up as a whole to create spaces and experiences for others to explore creativity, playfulness, authenticity, collaboration, reflect, be curious. In a nutshell, I'm an artist, a facilitator, public speaker, and maybe, if all goes well, a future author. So yes, creative catalyst would be the short answer, Nilda.
Creative catalyst. Okay, so creativity is something that we tend to compartmentalize. So I like that you say that, because as leaders in the global workplace, we tend to say, well, creativity, if I'm not a techie, if I'm not a designer, if, then creativity could be something I put in my drawer and I take out when I have time. But Steph is here to prove us otherwise. So Steph, tell us, what first sparked your passion for creative collaboration? And why collaboration with creativity?
I guess I need to zoom back a little bit and tell you about those past experiences. So, like many others, I don't have a streamline, or my red thread in my career is not very obvious from the outside, and it's framed in a certain way. I started in the British Army as an officer cadet, paid my way through university, and that gave me a lot of structure, and that put me in contact with other people who really enjoy finding the edges of their abilities, which is something I've always enjoyed, even though uncomfortable at times. Then I landed in the corporate world, like many of us do, and specifically in human resources. And there, I perhaps didn't realize it immediately at the time, but with hindsight and reflection, I noticed the big contrast between the British Army and the corporate world, and the difference in lack of clarity. Because as an officer cadet, whatever mission we were sent on, and we were just reserve soldiers, I never went into action or anything like that. It was always very clear what our task was. And I've never experienced in my corporate career such teamwork as I did in my training with the British Army. And that got me curious. Why is that contrast there? And then the third pillar is my soulful work, which meant I started exploring becoming an artist over 20 years ago. And I wondered, how can I connect these worlds and experiences and different perspectives together? And so I wanted to bring that clarity of objective and sense of belonging and effective teamwork that I experienced as a cadet in the British Army to the corporate world, using art and collaboration as the platform to hold that experience for people to feel, see, experience things differently, and then apply it back in their workplace. And that was 2011, where that sort of started to emerge. It's fragile in the beginning, like a butterfly drying its wings before it takes its first flight. but it emerged, and through iteration, through collaboration, it became something way beyond what I initially imagined. It's almost like when you follow that voice inside, not the ones up here, but the one either in your heart or in your belly. It leads you down a path that expands way beyond. It took me on a journey, a collaborative journey.
So it sounds like you created what you didn't see, what you didn't find. So that created an opportunity for you to collaborate, create. So it's creating is your middle name, sounds like, right?
I enjoy thinking so. Whether other people do, I don't know.
Yes, definitely. And you know, it's interesting because, and perhaps you with your clients have noticed that we tend to say, but I'm not creative. Why create? Is that something you find often in your work? Because if I understand correctly, your work involves facilitating team building, effective teams through team building activities that involve creativity. Is that a common thing that comes up? I'm not creative. It's daunting.
You're right. So indeed, the core of my work is arts-based experiential learning, whether it's for team building or culture change or team chartering. It can be applied to many different objectives. And yes, you're right. There is a need, I think, for many people to reframe what creativity is and what it isn't, and our belief in whether we have it or not. So there's sort of two threads to answer this question. The first one is the difference between being artistic and being creative. Artists are indeed creative, but just because you don't consider yourself artistic does not mean you are not creative. In fact, we are all innately creative by birth, whether we realize it or not. Perhaps some of your more spiritual listeners out there, we hear a lot these days about manifestation, and that is actually a form of creation, like create the life you want.
Yes.
But it doesn't work in the magic pill way. I want a Ferrari for Christmas. It doesn't necessarily work like that, but all our actions, our beliefs, our thoughts are actually co-creating our life. But if we bring that back to collaborative art and the experiential learning, I actually leverage the fact that people tend to not believe in their artistic abilities deliberately in this offering, because that is such a common self-belief in the workplace, beyond the workplace. It levels the playing field in terms of collaboration when you present a team, artistic-based team challenge for them to embark on. And this is really powerful because when you feel out of your comfort zone, you're not going to try and do something by yourself. You're going to lean on the others around you, right? Because it's like, I can't draw. And so it innately, if you like, by design, makes these experiences, these team building experiences, collaborative, because you're taking them out of what is familiar to them. Or if they are relatively comfortable at drawing, most people aren't going to say, hey, I'm really good. So they get discovered by their team and seen in a new light as, hey, wow, you're really talented at doing that. And then they get to work together in identifying roles to achieve the challenge, which we need to do in the workplace too. Know your team's strengths and leverage them. And so they get to work in a way in parallel in an unrelated field, but apply those learnings back in the workplace. But we're all innately creative at the end of the day. I could talk a whole hour just on that if you wanted to.
Yes, we are innately creative. Let's sit with that. It's part of who we are. Now, I'd like to ask you about when you were sharing your story about how it all began. Instead of compartmentalizing these aspects of your life, you decided to bring them as a whole. And I love that idea because what I'm hearing is you were authentically you. You matched what was inside with what you offered outside. How can we do the same in a world of where more and more it's, oh, I'm an accountant / personal trainer. I am a mom, a stay-at-home mom / makeup artist for in theater? How can we bring our full selves showing up authentically, unapologetically, to quote you? How can we do that?
I love this question. And it's a question, if you ask me to answer this in 2 weeks from now, you'll probably get a completely different answer, because honestly, it's an ongoing journey for myself and for all of us. But I think the 2-word answer to it is curiosity and courage. But that makes it sound easy, and it's not. It's taken me years, and it will continue to take me. It's a lifelong lesson. But I must admit, in the last probably 3 years, I have become way more consciously curious about what is going on, what leads to that. And it's all about inner work. When you work on yourself, I think there's a quote, I can't remember who it is, but when you work on yourself, it's like the biggest gift, not only that you give to yourself, but the world. And I like to see it as there is no sustainable future if we don't work on inner transformation. And that makes my personal life better, but it also makes my work life better. And it has a ripple effect on those around me, whether clients, colleagues, family, friends, colleagues at Toastmasters. It ripples out. So imagine a world where we are all doing that with the intention of becoming more unapologetically ourselves. And I actually see the journey of authenticity like a subtraction process. We're removing the layers that we've inherited.
Yes.
Unconsciously, mainly. And you have to have some kind of moment in life, or at least for me, I had to get to a point in life where I felt too much discomfort, that I didn't want to wear those layers anymore. And I hope I can find a formula that will help people maybe one day not wait until that moment. But we're wired in a way that fears the unknown. So I also understand why we wait to be so uncomfortable with this persona or personas, because we can wear many different masks in the workplace. And we are conditioned, and we have habits, and we've inherited beliefs from family, from schools, from society. And this becoming you process is getting rid of all of that. But how does that apply in the workplace? Because I know your audience is also very corporate. It's relevant, because the more you become you, the more aligned the opportunities. You're not feeling good in your job right now. If you do that inner work and start following your intuition, for example, even if it's baby steps, I'm not saying quit your job, but the more you align to who you really are, the more you will attract aligned people, aligned opportunities. So you don't know how at that phase when you start to be curious and take those baby steps, but the more you dare to do that, the more aligned opportunities will come to you, including people around you, which will help those aligned opportunities come to you. So it means you will have much more enriching conversations with people as well, workplace and non-workplace. And that will bring more aligned opportunities. That will bring you new perspectives that you're perhaps ready to hear in that moment in your journey as well, which is like opening all these rabbit hole doors into, ooh, how did I not hear about this before? And it's almost like these certain doors become open at a certain moment in time because of these authentic conversations, aligned conversations, and all of that because, one, you started to be curious. Is this it? Is this really what I want to do for the next 20 years of my career, or even the next 5, right? Be curious. What's behind it? What's holding you back? And take those baby little brave steps, which requires the courage. What I love doing is noting down those synchronicities, those symbols, because when you're navigating a new path, the unknown, it can be really disorientating at times. And if you note down those subtle cues and signals that are showing up, I find that really reassuring. You can focus on the glass being half empty or the glass being half full and tracking those signs. Wow, that beautiful conversation I had with so-and-so yesterday, or that daring act I took at Toastmasters last week, or that uncomfortable conversation I leaned into with my boss or my colleague. Those are all baby courageous steps into you, teaching your nervous system that it's safe to be more you and not wear these masks that many of us are conditioned to wear. And
Teaching. Yes.
believe me, trust me, try it within the comfort of one step out of your comfort zone. Like, don't jump 10 steps out straight away. You'll completely panic. And the more you keep on doing that, the more you become you, and the more you find your place in the world and your work. And it takes time, but it will all start aligning, and it's magic. And I'm still on that journey, but
Yes.
I
It's
dared to
never
take
ending.
those first steps.
It's ever evolving, ever evolving. Let's talk about authenticity as a creative superpower. Can you share a story where it led you to unlock that authenticity, and how creativity helped you do that?
So a few years ago, I kind of made a promise to myself to be unapologetically me. But what does that really mean? Like,
Yes.
in concrete terms?
Yes.
It can mean unleashed, not containing yourself, not making decisions that are fear-based. So if I take that to the Toastmasters space, I was competing in Malta this year in the annual competition.
Yes.
And somehow I managed to reframe this as it didn't matter. Like, the result doesn't matter, because it's so easy when you're competing to really care about either I win or it's a fail. And it's never a fail, because daring to step out of your comfort zone is already the win. And somehow in Malta, I was able, it wasn't a lie to myself. It was genuinely just going up on stage and doing what I'm about to do is the win. And I'm going to be whatever the prompt, because it was a spontaneous speech, not a prepared speech. Whatever subject prompt they give me, I'm going to deliver it, not only as unapologetically me, which feels super vulnerable, because some people might consider me quite quirky if they are a little bit more conservative than I am. So it was really exposing myself to a European network of business professionals, showing my true colors. And authenticity for me is who I am on the inside being aligned with how I show up on the outside. And not only that, to do it on stage and be filmed in front of, I don't know how many people there were, 200-300 people. So, but I've worked on my comfort zone a lot. That might not be your listener's first step, but as you go along the journey, what that looks like becomes bigger, and what it feels like as well. And not only did I challenge myself or promise myself to show up on stage as unapologetically me, I brought in a playful element, which was my own personal mission. Whether I even placed on the podium or not didn't matter. My mission was to, whatever prompt they gave me, I would consciously dance my response whilst speaking. And I walked on stage feeling like I was about to do a party game in front of friends. So that stress of being perfect, of placing on a podium or whatever else can stress you out in that situation, it evaporated. And I was just there to be me and play. And when I rewatch the video of that film, I see me versus when I watch videos of speeches I've given where the stress was really running through me to the point I just wanted to run off in the other direction.
Yes.
I don't see me. I see a contained me. And as I see and experience those differences, I want more of the me, that alignment of me as I am on the inside, showing up on the outside, because it's, Nilda, it's so much more fun.
Oh,
it's so much more nourishing.
Oh my goodness. And not only for you, but for those you share it with. Imagine this in the workplace. Wow. I mean, that would certainly be an organization where that happens, where that's the culture, is an organization that would be the world's best place to work at, for sure.
I think so. And it has such value in a workplace, because it fuels collaboration, it fuels creativity, it fuels all the things that most clients are asking for. But you have to package it up in a different way, because it's one of those things, I think, where the world is ready for it, but you have to word it in a certain way for them to realize.
People want that more and more. It's just how to do it, right? But once we hear your experience, it makes it appealing. So, you know, when you say playful, when you say, I see the video and I see myself, hey, I want some of that, right?
Yeah.
Collaboration. Now the topic of our conversation today is also the art of collaboration. So finding the art in collaboration. What's one strategy you use when facilitating teams to ensure that every voice is heard and where creativity can really flourish?
Well, it might not be the response you're expecting, but aprons or Tyvek suits. Do you know what it does? As soon as participants put on an apron or a Tyvek suit, you've leveled the playing ground. There's no title anymore. That's one way to do it. It touches on what we were talking about earlier. But to create a space, where there is inclusion, they are in the same boat, sailing into the unknown together. And the first thing I do there is give them an apron. Then I give them a challenge and explain why we're here. Then I ask them why that challenge is important to them, because I always link, if they're co-painting something together, I always link it to a pertinent theme for their team, for their organization. But it's really important, rather than me telling them what their boss has told me why it's important, it's better that they define. And that means a popcorn round, first of all, maybe even a small team reflection. Yesterday, for example, it was intuition in decision making, and it was all about leading through uncertainty. And so I got them to define why that's important for them as leaders.
Yes.
Because that means you're pulling it from them. And then in terms of creativity and expression, there's not one way. There's not only drawing, there's brainstorming words.
Yes.
So those who aren't always necessarily doing outlines in pencil, they might have been stronger sharing the ideas through words.
Yes.
Then there's a storytelling part to the challenge. So those who feel that it's not the best fit for them to be painting later on, they might be crafting the pitch that presents this vision, which is bringing together everybody's ideas.
Yes.
And when you co-create a shared vision that everyone has contributed to, again, you have visually brought together everybody's voices and ideas. And that's part of the power of collaborative art.
So the art of collaboration in some is first leveling the playing field, right? Let's all get our hands dirty. Come on. There's no title. There's no who does best, this, that. We explore our strengths together and we work for a common good, for an end result that we can all be proud of. And we find out the why. Okay, brilliant. Steph, now talk to me about the courage to collaborate. So in our work at Leo Dynamics, we encourage a lot of collaboration and give the tools to collaborate through words and managing our emotions for that, regulating those emotions that could come and block that. What's your take on how to take risks, share ideas, challenge? So you spoke to us about how you facilitate that, but what's our role individually to be able to collaborate, to feel like we have something to contribute?
I think there's a few steps to that. One, I think as the facilitator or leader yourself, you need to role model authenticity. Why? Because it builds connections. So I would start with suggesting role modeling authenticity as you hold the space where you want collaboration to happen. Because when you do that, you show vulnerability, which builds trust and connection, and that gives others permission to do the same. They might not do it straight away, but if you keep consistently do that, you will start step by step. The braver ones will start doing it next, and it becomes like a snowball effect. Second one, create a safe space, or what is often referred to as psychological safety.
Yes.
So that might look like or sound like saying what happens here stays here, because maybe there are some very sensitive conversations that need to take place during certain workshops that you run. And you have to obviously deliver on that as well. If then someone hears that you've shared something sensitive that was shared, you're going to break the trust. And trust is the foundation of collaboration, of course. And I think it's also important is normalizing imperfection, because we are conditioned from a very early age, even through the schooling system and beyond, to fear failure. And I mean, I've done quite a bit of work on that too, but it still gets me. I still dance tango with my inner perfectionist on certain days, let's say. But yeah, how can we normalize together? Because if people aren't willing to take risks and make mistakes, they are not going to take collaboration to the next level. They are not going to share bold, unconventional ideas out of fear of being judged, out of whatever fears are holding them back. There are several. So again, it doesn't happen in a switch. They have to have these, through experience, these mini insights that build on top of each other, and that you keep on building, so that you're basically expanding their comfort zones of area of play, of contributing, of showing up as themselves. And when more people start doing that, then instead of having a group think effect, you have all these same thinking people doing and acting and behaving the same way.
Yes. Yeah.
Companies want that to be different, and yet at the same time, we're all trying to fit a mold.
Absolutely.
So authenticity, all show up as ourselves. Again, there's a lot of inner work behind that. It doesn't happen overnight. Then you get diversity showing up in the workplace, diversity of thought, diversity of experience. I'm not talking about nationalities or shapes and sizes. It's the thinking, no matter who we are or where we're from. The thinking, our diverse experiences and how we've connected those dots. And what if we bring, I didn't know that outside of work, you do improv, bringing our whole selves and what that could look like if we co-create together. This is when we get to the 1 + 1 = 3 in terms of creativity, collaboration, and results. If we don't create a space for that, we're just repeating the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results.
Yes, and that is the very definition of insanity, as late Albert Einstein said once. So I have the pleasure of collaborating with Steph in the team building offers that we have, and also in Toastmasters, which is a public speaking association that creates leaders and communicators. And I'm eternally grateful to that organization because it brought me to you. Now, these are some questions that I ask often to my guests, just to build that human connection. What's a business buzzword you would love to erase?
Work hard, play hard.
You'd love to erase that word. Okay. All right. A time when collaboration went wrong and what you learned.
Usually my learnings around collaboration are linked to the part of me that wants to control. And I'm talking in collaboration with colleagues rather than collaboration with the client.
Yes.
Yeah.
Colleagues, yes.
And I've had quite a few moments in my learning journey that show me actually to release some of that control and include, maybe it's because I'm the creator of the collaborative art method, but how can I create more space with these awesome people I collaborate with to step up further and shine so that we co-create something new? And actually, it's through collaborating with you I've probably had that biggest realization about that, because we've been doing that and it creates something completely new. It's a cocktail of what Nilda brings and what Steph brings. But to do that, it requires letting go.
Absolutely. That's deep, people. Deep, right there. Letting go and having that studious approach that I keep hearing in what you're saying in this conversation. One word colleagues would use to describe you.
Yesterday I was called an overachiever, and then I came home thinking, was that good or bad? Or what What does it say about me? What does it say about them? But typically I get called creative, fun, depending what context you see me in. But now I even bring more fun in the workplace too, because of this unapologetically you. Because I think fun and playfulness is memorable, and that helps people learn, and it breaks the tension, especially when you're taking teams into deep reflective places. You obviously need to be aware of timing on that, but it can, like in a speech as well, if you're talking about a heavy topic, I have in the past tended to forget to bring in a bit of levity, a bit of lightness.
Yes.
But yes, how can we balance that? Because it drives home messages and learnings stronger.
Indeed. An inspiring quote, and why?
The one for me in the last 7 days, I read somewhere, I think I used it, I paraphrased it today, is there's no sustainable future without inner transformation. I think it's a spin-off of something that Richard Rudd from Gene Keys has said. And I think the way he said it was, there's no future that is sustainable without doing inner work. Yeah, it really resonated with me, because I don't feel like I have a solution for geopolitics, climate change and war and all of the things, inequality in economics, all these big systemic problems the world is facing. I'm not smart enough in those domains to even begin to imagine. Clearly, we need a lot of creative collaboration. Not one person's necessarily going to come up with a solution for that. But where I think I can be me and potentially impact, create ripples that go out, is if I walk my talk. I'm fascinated by self-development, and using art, speaking, and facilitation linked to self-development, potentially even have a book published. We'll see what the publishers say. Around that theme, if everyone does that inner work, this is how collectively we can bring change. And maybe some of those people that wake up and dare to be themselves and let go of their limiting thoughts and patterns, they're the ones that have the solution. So that's where I see my role in that big picture. And I'm not the only one doing that, clearly, but that's aligned with who I am, what I love doing, and how I can do my part in this big experience we're all having together.
Absolutely. In this Earth School, right? And this one is specifically for you. Favorite creative ritual or habit?
Journaling. Doesn't have to be every day, but I have an active mind and it's regular. And then the one to compensate the mind is getting into the body, and I love to do that with conscious dance. So whether it's Geneva, Lausanne, Vevanion, if there's a conscious dance, you're likely to come across me there.
Steph, thank you so much for walking us through the steps for collaborating creatively, the art of collaboration. It has been wonderful. And I truly hope that as a result of this conversation, there will be more collaboration out there, more authenticity aligned with a more sustainable world in the future. Thank you so much. All the best to you.
Thank you to you. You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Oof, what a conversation that was. That's it for today. But if something sparked an idea, gave you clarity, or simply made you feel less alone in this global workplace jungle, remember, that's why you're here. That's why we are here connecting with you. Now, don't just sit there and let the insight just stagnate. Apply it. Teach it to someone. And if you're ready to go deeper, book your strategy call with me today. Together, we'll turn these big ideas, these big strategies into action. Stop waiting, start speaking. And let's be bold. Let's be fluent together. I'm Leonilda Renaldo. It's been a pleasure. See you soon.